Hi, good morning. It's pretty cloudy out there this morning, and I think that kind of reflects the sort of mood I've been feeling this week. I don't know about you, but it's been a funny old week here in England, for those of you who tune in from abroad, mostly the States. I think we all knew that the restrictions were going to come in gradually and more, but not quite as quickly as they have in the last week. And London is now on the watch list. And I found myself this week just taking a massive sigh at the thought of another 6 months of this. And I suspect more lockdown restrictions are going to come in soon. And I live by myself, and it's a strange experience because so much of the active projects that I'm involved with before lockdown, were very much about being with people and creating artistic projects with people. And I feel that I've been racing for the last 6 months to be able to bring new projects together that I think everybody has, and with a kind of attitude that it was temporary somehow. And I did my poems every morning at 10 o'clock religiously during the toughest part. And then as things started to ease, I made the decision to just do a poem on Sunday. And now I'm sitting looking at the next 6 months and thinking, good grief, we've got to find some more positive energy to come up with more innovation in order to keep ourselves going in whatever ways that we can. And we've known this was coming. I think it's been obvious that this was coming for some time, but it's easy to be in denial of it. And we're now seeing in this country a real split between what has now seems to have become a belief. So there are the non-believers and the believers, non-believers in the virus and the believers. There was a massive protest in Trafalgar Square yesterday. I'm not sure if you saw it, but which was from people who just were disobeying and not wanting to believe what we're going through. Anyway, so another thing that happened this week, which I think was really powerful, I had a Zoom meeting with some other artists, and everybody was being really upbeat and positive, and that's how we have to be, of course. But when we actually dug a little deeper, people were in a lot of distress. Other artists were saying, well, I was doing this, and then suddenly the rules changed, and now I can't do this, and I'm exhausted. And I think people sometimes feel almost ashamed of saying that they're having a tough time because it looks negative, when actually I think an authentic acknowledgement of how tricky things are actually just makes us feel more connected. And out of that being more connected, we're able to come up with more creative projects. I also had the benefit of being able to go into a meeting this week, a Zoom meeting showcase of 3 amazing poets, exiled women writers, and it was very interesting to get a sense of their writing in relationship to horrendous, torturous experiences in Ceausescu's Romania and in Iran. And at some point, when I've digested some of their work, I will read some of that. But I've been taken today. I found myself looking on my shelves yesterday and returning to Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, which I've read many, many years ago, and always has acted as a sort of touchstone for when I felt a bit kind of odd about things or alone. And I went there again yesterday, and I visited Auschwitz a couple of times and experienced in the 80s, before it was all like a museum, I experienced some extraordinary things about the human spirit. And Frankl is he was in Auschwitz for 3 years, Auschwitz and Dachau, and some of his writing is utterly inspiring when it comes to the struggles that people face. And I'm not saying that things in the UK are as bad as they were in Auschwitz, but there's a lot to be learned about human beings' tenacity and love So I'm having a bit of a rant this morning before I read my poems, because I'm finding it tough. But I'm also finding solace and refuge in poetry. And I'm just going to read you this little bit from Viktor Frankl, which I find utterly inspiring. And then I'm going to read you another poem by Alex Dimitrov, who's the Polish, which is quite interesting because he's a Polish-American poet, and he's young, he's 35, and he wrote the poem that I'm going to read today, very recently, in June, actually. So, without further ado, this is what one of the things that Viktor Frankl says in Man's Search for Meaning. A thought transfixed me. For the first time in my life, I saw the truth as it is set into song by so many poets, proclaimed as the final wisdom by so many thinkers. The truth that love is the ultimate and the highest goal to which a man can aspire. Then I grasped the meaning of the greatest secret that human poetry and human thought and belief have to impart. The salvation of human is through love and in love. I understand how a man who has nothing left in the world still may know bliss, be it only for a brief moment, in the contemplation of his beloved. In a position of utter desolation, when a man cannot express himself in positive action, when his only achievement may consist in enduring his sufferings in the right way, an honourable way, in such a position man can, through loving contemplation of the image he carries of his beloved, achieve fulfillment. Highly, highly recommend you have a visit with Viktor Frankl in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's not a story of doom and gloom. It's a story of the rise of the human spirit against all the odds, whilst acknowledging suffering. And so I'm now going to turn to Alex Dimitrov, who I have to say is a poet I didn't know before I started doing my poetry. It's one of the things I've loved about, finding new poets and, I don't know, travelling into those imaginal worlds with them. So this is called More by Alex. So I'll just turn that off. More by Alex Dimitrov. How again, after months, there is awe. The most personal moment of the day appears unannounced. People wear leather. People refuse to die. There are strangers who look like they could know your name. And the smell of a bar on a cold night, or the sound of traffic as it follows you home. Sirens, parties, how balconies hold us. Whatever enough is, it hasn't arrived. And on some dead afternoon when you'll likely forget this, as you browse through the vintage again and again, there it is. What everyone's given up just to stay here. Jewelled hairpins, scratched records, their fast youth. Everything they've given up to stay here and find more. So that's my Sunday morning connection with everybody. And thank you. It's lovely to see that you're tuning in, Janet. I appreciate that. And Charlie, hi, Charlie. Yeah, it's been a funny old week, a tough week. But, on we go, and we look positively for the things that we can do creatively. And a bit of a ramble this morning. So if you're catching up with this later, hi. And hi, Anna. Thanks for tuning in. Take very great care, everyone. And what's she saying? Mary, good morning. Hang in there. She says, hang in there, Carol. All will be well. We just don't know when yet. Thanks for the reading. This with such passion. Oh, Mary, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's going to make me cry a little bit. We are all hanging in there. And I think that's the thing about being honest and sharing what we feel allows us to, garner our energies and make more creative projects, which we're really hoping to do before very long at all. Well, they're already underway, actually. So I'll stop rambling again, and I'll see you next Sunday, I hope, if not before. You take care now.